There are two things that won't stop rising in America: housing prices and the dead. Prices are so grave now, zombies can't afford their rent, so they're popping out and shuffling over to the neighborhood to tour houses and eat the rich. Now, someone's got to do something about all these pesky zombies. Hopefully this cable guy will be able to help us, because who knows more about dead things than a worker in the cable industry? Along with a couple of grave robbers, at least 2 hot chicks, the professor, and a literate child with a gun, we're either about to free Ukraine or stop these zombie bastards. They just have to figure out how to motivate these dead guys to show up in one specific spot so they can zap them. Oh, I know. Hey, zombies! Rainbow fentanyl! Black Friday early sale over here! Ha, suckers! Aren't you glad you returned to see the Return of the Living Dead? Me too! That's right, it's 1988's The Return of the Living Dead 2, or Part 2, a sort of sequel to Return of the Living Dead, the punk zombie mayhem movie that shows what happens when you smoke government marijuana. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean breathe in fumes from a barrel with a gnarly dead guy and a chemical called 2,4,5-trioxin inside it. To make a long story short, don't do it! By the way, this title's way too long, so I'm going to be saying Roddle from now on, and you're just going to understand that I mean Return of the Living Dead. Anyway, it's not clear if the events of the first movie have happened here in Roddle 2, or if this is a soft reboot of the series using similar elements. I'm gonna say reboot because it would be kind of hard to cover up an American city being nuked for a zombie infestation like what happened at the end of the last movie. The characters in this film seem kind of shocked by the zombies, as unaware of their possibility as I was blissfully unaware of fractions in the 2nd grade. The movie senses this confusion and pounces, laughing at us as it adds another twist to the rope by having James Karen and Tom Matthews show up again, playing nearly the same lovable assholes from the first movie, just with different names and different jobs. That's not confusing. However, their performance is one of the movie's comedic highlights, even if they spend a lot of the time on the screen explaining why they're doing the same things they did in the first film yet again.
No, it's like we've been here before. It's like a dream, this whole thing. You, me, them.
It's slightly funny. And then they just disappear after reaching the same point that their stories concluded in the first movie. I don't know why they just stopped appearing, they're just gone. Rest in peace, dudes. I'm guessing that the writer-director Ken Wiederhorn, who deserves kudos for including them in the first place, didn't know how to handle these two and their story beyond that point. He really should have tried, though, because the two characters' previous fates in the first movie deliver some of the darkest, most powerful, and even touching moments in that film. Almost everyone agrees that the first Return of the Living Dead had one of the best soundtracks in horror. In Return of the Living Dead 2, the music immediately stands out, but not for good reasons. The score feels cheap, chintzy, too TV special, and not top 10 horror movie. Worst of all, the best parts of the original score here are not truly original. They're just remixes of the trioxin theme from the first movie. I guess if Frank and Freddy are back, why not the tunes too, huh? I will say the soundtrack in 2 at least has enough energy to really rev up some of the antics on screen. I also really dig the credits song, a new wave rendition of the Monster Mash. Who doesn't love that? Okay, it's the internet, so probably everyone. I actually like quite a bit of Return of the Living Dead Part 2, with its suburban charm that looks so much like where I grew up. This movie was always on TV, which allowed it to inspire most of my childhood nightmares. I suspect this film was on TV so much because it really never goes fully ultra-violent, and it favors the goofy instead. Indeed, it has many funny moments, like when the zombies watch TV, or when another zombie explains who he thinks the current president is.
Pardon me, but could you tell me who the president of the United States is?
Harry Truman.
That needs to go into the zombie survival guide.
Who's Harry Truman?
I also love Doc Mandel's character. He delivers some of the movie's best lines and is wholly original, which is a rarity here. This film also features one of the most varied cast of zombies on screen. You can pause this film and always find something new, interesting, and undead to look at, like a cowboy or a celebrity zombie cameo. Did you notice Forrest J. Ackerman, the guy behind Famous Monsters in Filmland? There he is. This zombie that's dancing isn't actually Michael Jackson, believe it or not, but it is the same actor as Scuzz from the first Return of the Living Dead. He also played a zombie in that movie too. And who doesn't love a Jim Breuer cameo? Of course, I must mention the return of zombie great the Tar Man. He's one of yet another recycled bits from the first movie. A bit more fleshed out here, but I honestly prefer the original version more than this one. By the way, if you were wondering why Tar Man never shows up again, Apparently he dissolves in water, and that was in the original script, but not in the movie. Speaking of scripts and writing, the director and writer of Return of the Living Dead Part 2 was an aspiring documentary maker who instead ended up making horror and comedy movies. You know, it happens. He had an original idea for a kids versus zombie movie, but it was only allowed to be made if it was instead a sequel to Return of the Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead Part 2 would probably have fared much better if it had stayed as that original zombie movie it was going to be. It has its good parts, good effects sequences, good-looking zombies, good-looking women, funny moments, and a few original touches. But the return of elements from that first movie overshadow all of it, forcing a zombie measuring contest that no one really wanted. I give Return of the Living Dead 2, Part 2, whatever you want to call it, 3 one-fingered ghoul salutes out of 5. Sometimes, dead isn't better.
All of these things are designed to frighten a monkey.